The Lake Forest Podcast is supported by viewers, listeners, and businesses just like you. Michelle Parno has lived and worked in Lake Forest for over 2 decades. Michelle's lending experience, when combined with her real estate expertise, makes her an invaluable asset to her clients as they navigate their home buying or selling process. Call Michelle now at 847-528-8721, 847-528-8721. For the best cannabis in the world, look no further than Iliad Epic Grow. Owned by Lake Bluff's own Rich Ruzich, they are a cannabis cultivation center focusing on hard-to-find small batch products that will delight both the occasional user and ganjier. When visiting Michigan, ask for it by name. Epic Products, exceptional process. For more information, email info@iliadgrow.com. Laracy & Company CPAs, founded in 2010 by Lake Forest's own Brian Laracy, specializes in tax preparation and bookkeeping services. Earning the People Love Us on Yelp award, their process is straightforward. Just upload, review, and file. For a free quote, visit LaracyCPA.com now. That's LARISEYCPA.com. I'm excited to share with you something special from our Lake Forest community, the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa, located at 775 North Bank Lane in Lake Forest near Wisconsin Avenue. This just isn't any spa. They offer an amazing blend of traditional spa services plus the added benefit of medical procedures and treatments. In a relaxing and luxurious spa environment, you can enjoy a range of cosmetic and aesthetic treatments. These are all performed under the supervision of top medical professionals. The Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa provides skin care, facial rejuvenation, body contouring, laser hair removal, Botox, dermal fillers, chemical peels, and much more. What's great is that each treatment is tailored not just to enhance your appearance, but also to address specific skin concerns and to promote overall well-being. So if you're looking to pamper yourself and take your beauty routine to the next level, give the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa a call at 224-768-8028 or visit them at their location on North Bank Lane. It's an experience your skin will thank you for. We'd also like to say we're thankful for our Patreon supporters, Otto, John C., Helen, Herrick, and J.M. We got a full house.
Wow.
We have the great Skoo Walker, of course, Joe Weiss, and Susan, not Sue Garrett, Susan Garrett, Senator Susan Garrett.
How come I'm not on your screen?
I think it's Trump's fault. Has to start video. Look at you, Joe.
All right.
How's Florida doing?
Nice and warm.
Morning.
I really like your sconces.
Here,
Aren't
I
you
didn't decorate.
I know the word sconce.
Yes, I'm
Senator Susan Garrett, how's California? Did you help count the ballots?
No, I'm actually in Lake Forest.
No, but you just came from Cali.
I was there at Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Okay.
After the election.
Oh, after?
Yeah.
So you
They had some close, very close elections.
They did actually, and that actually helped determine the outcome of the House races. Everybody was focused on the presidential, but House races.
Right. In Southern California, I think mostly.
Yeah.
So they still keep it clean out there now? They still are the tents gone, or they just all moved over to Lakeshore Drive? No comment?
I'm not going to go there.
Okay. See, she's establishing boundaries right away.
Yes. It's good to see that Skoo's back.
Yeah. He was on hiatus. He had to do a little trip. He had to find himself. Now he's found, and he's back. And Skoo, I do like the shirt. Very nice.
Thank you.
Nice. Is that from Smith's?
It is not. I don't know where it's from. It's Christmassy.
Got to shop local.
Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely.
I shop local DXL.
If you can find a parking place.
Yeah, what's up with that parking?
Just park on Wisconsin and walk around the corner, get some exercise. It's,
we don't want to exercise when it's 2 degrees. Senator Susan Garrett, thank you for coming back on the show. Let's have some fun.
It's good to be back.
let's go over the obvious stuff.
Oh,
Viva la Trump.
this is dangerous territory already.
Oh, come on.
What's obvious to you is not obvious to me.
All right, fair enough. Duly noted. Is there like a disclaimer you'd like to read off before we
No.
continue, like a hostage?
I'm fully transparent.
Okay, fully. Got to watch out for that word transparent. That means two different things to two different peoples.
Skoo,
Yes?
your eyes are popping out of your.
Oh, no, sorry.
Skoo doesn't like to talk schools or politics. He likes to talk Kiddles.
Kiddles,
I
yeah,
love
stop
Kiddles.
in. Christmas shop there.
Best store in Lake Forest.
Let's just go around the horn here. Kiddles, well, all the women's stores, I can't name them all, but go in all of those.
They've got French names.
Well, hold on, not Lake Forest shop. I mean, that's old school.
Well, that's included as a woman's shop.
But Lake Forest Shop has like fancy clothes, and you have to go to big events to, shop there.
The big New Year's Eve celebrations and all that. That's funny. They don't, when you say that, I don't know about you guys, but not a lot of Christmas parties people hold anymore ever since COVID.
Well, it's a lot of work. It's expensive.
Yeah.
A lot of people like to have small groups instead of, and where they can pay attention and talk and discuss politics. Maybe
See,
it's
for those
not
used to be-
maybe it's politics.
But you used to get all dressed up for those, and
Yeah. I think we're in a more casual world now. I used to have to wear a suit and tie 5 days a week. Now I only wear a tie for weddings and funerals.
Maybe we should dress up for this show.
when's the
Think that'll
Christmas
help?
show?
I like what Einstein did. He had just a closet filled with all the same stuff. You don't have to waste any brain power on picking stuff out.
And
You see that every week with your wardrobe.
Absolutely.
When are you gonna have the bad sweater Christmas show?
Well,
Next
week is Christmas. Can we say Christmas? Is that cool? Say Christmas again?
Sure.
It always was cool.
Who stopped saying it?
Well, you go to some.
That was a myth.
Well, no, you say Merry Christmas. Some people cringe when you do that. And I'm like, unless you do
You have a skill. Just
what? No, I'm just, look, this is all about difficult conversations, Skoo. I'm sorry.
I know.
If you like to have a cup of tea while we go through this big boy and big girl stuff, that's okay.
So what are you guys doing for Christmas?
Me? Okay.
Yeah, all of you.
I think I'm going to raid the Costco's and get try a standing rib roast. Might do that, test my little skills on that.
You
Well,
drop it in the deep fryer?
Speaking of shopping local, they have standing rib roast at Fresh Market on sale.
I don't pass their credit check.
If you get stuff at Fresh Market on sale, it's really good.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Well, Pete, you could have been technically shopping local at Costco, but
Oh,
But a certain former mayor,
Susan, can you go there?
we should have had that Costco.
Why don't we have a rebate? Why am I paying taxes? Why am I giving out money and not receiving money? I'm offended by that. Do you remember what happened with that?
Yeah.
Susan Garrett. What happened?
well, as I recall, it had to do with the environment.
So then they just put it on the other side of the tollway and it was environmentally okay?
Well, Matawa was okay with it. And it really
Surely we're okay with it. They wanted the money.
their tax base, and it's kind of off the beaten track. It's not. And if you notice, when you go down 60, Grainger, that was a big controversy decades ago. Grainger wanted to move in. The Lake County Board said, wait a minute, we don't want this big monstrosity industrial commercial building to be seen by everybody. So you can never, when you drive down 60, that's why you don't see Grainger.
But if it was environmental, why did they put the city building out there?
Yeah. Why does Jason Wikipedia get a nice office? How is that better for the environment?
Ask him. Ask Bob Kiley. I don't know.
Well, and Cathy Czerniak, I've heard her tell the joke a few times of she likes to think that her office at the city building is where the wine department would have been at Costco. So, to me, I look at it this way. Like I look at some of the other issues, like the cell tower, the railroad. I understand. Costco, I think there was also some opposition from the people living in Conway Farms at the time. But, I think the leaders need to look at the bigger picture and not look at the not in my backyard mentality of, what's the bigger picture for the entire city. If you'd had that mentality 100 years ago, Market Square might not have been built. Oh, this is going to ruin the area. I mean, we've got a beautiful area. Why are we going to put these stores and this shopping in downtown Lake Forest?
I think that's a good segue into something that I've been thinking about. So Lake Forest is going through a lot of change right now. They're going to do the, what they call it, the landscaping, from Western Avenue to, is it Green Bay, Oakwood, somewhere. So
The sewer
Deerpath
pipe?
is going to be shut down one lane at a time. The cell tower seemed like a fiasco to me, but maybe that will be fixed. It seems like in that parking on Bank Lane, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Like all these little things are happening that don't really make sense. I mean, they do make sense to some people, but one of my, I keep thinking, why isn't the city looking at the big picture? There's huge traffic issues on Green Bay and Deerpath. That light at the corner of Green Bay and Deerpath, I used to spend a lot of time on traffic lights, so I know this. It doesn't have a sensor. So you can be sitting there for 2.5 minutes and at a red light, and there's no sensor to pick you up, so you just sit there. On the other hand, the timing is really goofed up because of the schools being let out at 3:30 and the buses and the parents pick. I don't go to Lake Forest anytime at the end of the day when school is out. You just can't get through. So there's a whole bunch of big issues out there. And yet, I feel like there's this hodgepodge way of dealing with other issues and not looking at the whole, what is going on in Lake Forest? What do we really need? How do we address the parking issue, traffic, cell tower? I can't get, again, if you're on the corner of Green Bay and Deerpath, there's no cell service whatsoever. The Fourth Ward doesn't have it, but it's also, and I called Cathy Czerniak and said, it's also in the Third Ward. I mean, it's on the east side.
It's on the west side of the Third Ward too. Trust me, in the Middle Fork neighborhood.
Yeah, it's really a problem. And I scratch my head like, I don't understand this. Now we're going to start looking for, a different place to put a cell tower.
Wait, hold on. A problem properly defined is half solved. I read that somewhere. Senator Susan Garrett, what is the problem? The way the city is communicating this stuff, or these issues are all popping up? What is the issue that you have?
I just think so everybody wants, like we're talking shopping locally.
Yeah.
And you want to be able to get in Lake Forest, park, have access to stores, and you want to be able to do it. I mean, I get the school time, but it's prohibitive. You can't get in and out of Lake Forest if you use Deerpath, and that's really one of the main areas, streets.
School traffic.
School traffic.
Did you take the bus as a kid?
Yeah, but I didn't live here.
Oh.
I lived in Deerfield, remember? Deerfield.
Oh, but I bet the kids in Deerfield today don't take the bus. I think there's a whole generational thing of kids. It's not cool to take the bus anymore, and parents drive them and stuff.
I believe
so it's
it
not just
costs money too.
It costs parents a lot of money.
Yeah.
It used to be that the school
cheaper to drive them, unfortunately.
The school districts absorbed that, and then they started charging parents.
Because on that first issue, I don't know if you checked your tax bill, but I think it's gone up to help out the high school. And people are complaining that, there's no parking at the high school and all this stuff yet. We can't get people to take the bus. I mean, I took the green limousine, Chicago Transit Authority, my super transfer.
There was a band named the CTA.
Yeah.
That became Chicago. Yeah.
Peter Cetera. Yeah. Rock and roll.
Mayor Daley.
Best guitar player ever.
Oh God, here we go. Skoo, I love your music.
Terry Katz's you don't think he's one of the greatest guitar players ever?
Yes, Skoo, I do.
Okay.
All right.
I figured you would.
I want to save 15 minutes on the show. So I've heard that parents say, because I did a survey on this as I was sitting in traffic. I'm like, what? There's nobody on the school bus. And
nobody, they're empty.
Yeah.
They speed down Oakwood Avenue at about 50 miles a clip every morning, and it's empty. Every bus. And at 3:00, they buzz by, and there's not any.
Well, maybe that's something that the city and the schools could do together. Figure out how to address these empty buses and long lines of parents who are waiting to pick up their kids.
Yeah. Well, here's the issue. One is something happened where parents have to pay for it now, which is stupid, especially if we're doing all these referendums.
And it's a lot of money.
Right.
Well, I don't know how much money it costs to run.
Well, but there's a bus company, there's a school bus company monopoly where there's like one company in each area. So it's not a very competitive process. So it is costing the school districts more money. So that's why they raise fees to recoup it. That said, maybe it is something to look at because environmental issues, traffic issues, like you just talked about, Susan. It seems like we would want to encourage kids to ride the bus, like you and I did when we were in school, and make it so it would ease the traffic, it would help the environment, I would assume. Well, I don't know why they have
buses. Can't they get smaller buses? And you are right, Joe. There is a monopoly.
Right.
On school buses. It used to be Olson. I don't know what it is now. And they change their names once in a while. But they all have these
Hang on, they're coming down right now. No.
huge buses. And I don't understand why they have such big buses. I mean, they could
if the bus, back in my day, the bus was full.
Right.
You
But
had to look for a seat.
Well, it doesn't make sense because the contracting, that's something you can go through the high school on, but they're contracting how many buses and they line up and block traffic and
right.
they're never even half full, a quarter
Right.
full.
That is
It's crazy. And we're paying for that.
If the school districts, which are independent from the city of Lake Forest, got together with the city and they brought in some people and they had forums and they figured it out and they got parents' input because it's a quality of life issue, really. It's getting worse and worse.
Yeah. So the second thing is unruly kids on the bus.
Wait, do you guys agree that that's a good idea?
Absolutely. I mean,
hello.
I don't think, I mean, I know they work together, but for years it's always been kind of city schools kind of doing instead
and then
of
bring the parents in because they're the ones who really ultimately have to tell their kids to take the bus. And I think Joe has a great idea. Make it kind of a campaign on it's environmental. We want to keep Lake Forest air fresh and clean and
it's a double-edged sword because if you say to kids take the bus and you don't get charged for it, one, you're going to alleviate the traffic with all the parents dropping the kids off every morning. That adds to it, but then kids don't want to take the bus so there's ways to alleviate all the traffic, but it's all about I don't want to get on that bus.
Well, yeah, and I think there's a lot of my experience as a parent was the bus. If your kid rode the bus, they had to get up like half an hour earlier.
Right.
So you ended up like, okay, we'll drive little Johnny or little Janie to school, so that they can sleep a little later.
But it's funny that it's now being a per charge family to ride the bus, or actually per family per kid, I guess.
Yeah, it's per kid.
But any business that if you're running a business like that and there's no money coming in because there's no kids on the bus, wouldn't you discontinue that business? I can't operate.
Or lower your prices?
Exactly.
Or do something. I mean, not nothing's being done. I feel like year after year, I mean, it's the same thing, but I feel like it's actually getting worse.
And I'm not kidding. When I going down Oakwood and in the early morning and at 3 o'clock, these buses cut through, and I'm telling you, they're empty. And both when it goes north south, they're empty coming from the school
Right.
and empty going to the school. It's like, what is the deal with all this?
Well, the problem is traffic. Okay. Why is there traffic? Because moms and dads want to take their huge SUVs and drop off their kids and wait and idle and all that stuff. And that looks cool. Why isn't it happening? What's the problem? Number one, paying for it, even though some of these people are driving $100,000 cars. Number two, it's the unruly kids on the bus, which is, I'm sorry, there's unruly kids in the world. I guess cameras can fix that. I don't know. And then I think number three, a solution is you just put Wi-Fi on there. They'll all stare at their phones anyways.
I know. I was actually going to say that, or they can, play games.
Or do their homework, as some kids are going to do. So you're right. There is a disconnect on there. And when you ask around, it's, I guess you got to pick what marketing equity you want to use to address that. And the school doesn't seem too excited about pitching in to correct it. And I think the parents, for whatever reason, feel insecure about having their kids take the bus, or it's is that like I don't say elite. You're not elitist if you take the bus, right?
Pete, I think it's also the school's not pitching in because they're not. I don't think they're paying anything because the families are paying to use it. So It's just kind of, it's a service we're providing, but no one's using it.
And they're inside the school, the faculty, staff, and all that. It's the residents of Lake Forest and people, service people coming back and forth. And I think the only way to solve it is to bring the schools in the city and the parents together.
Well, I think it's going back to the whole beautification project. Pete, you said communication. It's going to be an absolute nightmare, contrary to what everyone has been.
That's what people are talking about. Like, they can't believe this is going to happen, given the fact that Deerpath
and on top of it, it's in the winter and it's during the school year. Deerpath is already backed up during the school year, as you said, Susan, with nothing going on.
Right.
And now you're going to have one lane. I don't know. I don't know how that's going to and God forbid we get snow.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, looking at the big picture and thinking down the road for months. So then Bank Lane, has been changed into a one-way. So a lot of people would cut through there and not go on Deerpath, if they're coming from the west. So that, and I still don't understand why they did
and the outlet roads, Oakwood, and those streets are going to be. Thankfully, no one's going to be speeding down Oakwood anymore because they're just going to be stopped in traffic because everyone's going to be detouring. It's crazy that what's going to.
Take Uncle Pete's magic wand and wave it. How would you correct this?
I don't. It's a tough one because you need in order to do stuff, you need the pipes swapped out.
Yeah.
But to me, the easiest way is you don't do it during school. Do it in the summer. There's no school, so traffic's going to be less. But Joe, we kidded about it last week. Raise your hand if you have a alternate route to get into the city or to the east side.
Or to the high school. It was a nightmare when before my daughter got her driver's license. And again, she's driving to school and paying an arm and a leg for a parking spot at somebody's house near the high school.
Right.
But
and God forbid anything happens. But how is the fire and police going to struggle their way through a one lane backed up? They're going to go up on the lawns and all that to get through. It's.
I heard a fire chief told me once. He goes, if our engines need to get through, they will get through. But you're right; it's going to be
at what cost, though? You're going to get
exactly
through,
right. What is the business reason? I remember watching the meetings, and I don't remember. I didn't know we were going to be talking about this, so I'm not brushed up.
Sorry,
Susan. Susan, we're just
like
showing
you're
up.
Brushed up anytime.
We're just showing up, having a chat here. What would be the business reason? I mean, common sense, Lake Forest, it has common sense. There must have been some business reason why. Would it cost more to do it in the summer? I don't know why, but
it came up. As I recall, it did come up in the meetings, and when they were talking about it. And honestly, I can't remember. I think I'm going to guess it had to do with the construction contracts or something. And I think they're getting state money. I think they're getting IDOT money.
They got a grant or something, right?
Yeah. So
they got a partial grant. I think they have a grant that pays for half of it.
Yeah. So sometimes when you get this grant money, there's strings attached.
I mean,
this is scheduling.
But this is a kind of the thing where, we always kind of tease all these offshoot groups that want to scream and moan about silly things. To me, this is going to be a big thing, not for one specific, for everyone in the community, businesses, everything. I mean, it's like
a business on Deerpath, as an example, or even on Western Avenue to get around the corner. The other thing I was thinking about, and I guess the city is doing stuff on this, but I'm not absolutely sure, parking lots, garages, or is that happening? Because there's no place to park.
I think there's been discussion of making the parking lot by City Hall similar to the parking lot by Illinois where the bank is. Where it's like a garage instead of just an open lot. I think they've talked about that, doing something similar to that. Now the gentleman that lives a little further west of that, I understand he's a little upset about that and has tried to buy the lot from the city multiple times, but the city has said, no, it's not for sale. But I think they're looking at maybe putting a parking garage there, doing it in a tasteful manner. I mean, the garage that's on Illinois now, I think is fine. I mean, we use it all the time when we go eat at what's the restaurant there? I can't remember the Italian. La Francesca's. Yeah, or the Deerpath.
Scary that I know that.
Or Deerpath Inn. So I think that would help on that.
Maybe where that gas station is on the corner of.
It looks like they're building something there. Or they were
Western and Deerpath?
No, Bank Lane and Illinois.
Illinois. Bank Lane and Illinois.
It used to be a Texaco station.
It used to be a gas station.
Why can't they do a parking something there? That would help the Deerpath Inn too.
That's certainly something to look at. I think there's some soil issues, when you take out a gas station.
It's always been soil issues, but I don't know if the tanks are still underground. But it's the owner, I believe, won't sell it.
Who is it?
And that's the limitation the city.
It used to be, I can't remember the name, but I don't know if the city finally finagled that out of him, but I've always heard it's always been he doesn't want to sell, but yet he won't do anything.
And that's the challenge you have with all these redevelopment things is you're dealing with private property owners that have a different agenda than the community does.
Right.
You've got the landlord for Market Square is very specific in what kind of tenants they want. And it's kind of difficult for the government to come in and say, no, you're going to do this instead with your property. I mean,
so the problem is traffic, and then number two, this sewer project, whatever the pipe that's going in is going in.
And
parking, right? You got that Chase lot right there. Banks don't need parking lots anymore. Nobody goes on a bank anymore.
And then you're right, the Lake Forest Bank, which is kind of across the street from Initial Choice to the east.
That is empty every day, but no one can park there because it's owned by Chase and they'll ticket you, but
no, it's owned by Lake Forest Bank.
Not Chase. You're right. Lake Forest Bank.
Yeah, and I'm a customer there, so I park there, but I'm not necessarily in the bank doing any business. Guilty as charged.
Okay.
But there's things that can be worked out with some of these property owners, I think.
Well, nobody's going to watch or listen to this, but for those that may have tripped over on listening to it like this and not telling anybody, what is the reason? Give us that anonymous text that gives us the answer, guys. Susan,
I think there's also the issue. The reason they're doing this is I think the water mains need to be replaced. Right. And we've had I think 2 or 3 water main breaks the last few weeks around the city. There was one at 60 and
That's
Last year there was a lot of water main breaks. I get that. If we get a cold patch, I get it. But I don't know if we're going to spend an hour talking about the pipes till we get more information. What I want to know is, Susan, what's your thoughts on the cell phone tower and the not in my backyard movement, because it doesn't look good in the business district? All I know is we get bad cell service, Susan.
I have terrible cell service. You know, everybody does. It's not me, just me. Wi-Fi. So I guess I don't understand why the West Lake Forest train station was the one and only location for this. So I used to live across on 60, and we had, there's the recycling center. And I always thought there were, receptacles on top of that for cell service. And if there was ever a good place to put a cell tower, that would be it, right? It seemed like it was never even considered. Nobody wants to have a big cell tower, close in their neighborhood where they can see it. I mean, it just seems, that location seems so close to homes. I think it was justified for people to come out and say no. But I think the city should have looked at other options.
Well, I think the discussion that night at the Plan Commission meeting, the recycling center, the dump, whatever you want to call it, was talked about a number of times. And one, the water, you'd have to get a different water tower because the current water tower wouldn't be able to support the weight of an additional.
They could put a separate cell tower.
Could. But then more importantly, the cell companies identified the train station as the location they wanted, that it would be more ideal, that they wouldn't really get that much more coverage by putting it at the dump. And at the end of the day, the city is not putting up this tower. It's private companies, the cell companies.
The cell company they're identifying the city. And right. Say, you guys are spotty, and there's our solution, and this is the best way to put it.
Right. And some of that has to do with the metro traffic. But if you go on that metro line up and down the Milwaukee District North line, a lot of parking lots at metro stations have cell towers. The one that comes to mind for me, because I used to live there, North Glenview, they put that up, and there were people in the Glen very upset at the time about it, saying, don't do this, it's going to ruin the property values. But the Village of Glenview went ahead and did it. And trust me, it did not impact the property values in the Glen whatsoever. And people just got used to seeing it by the train station. And, look around town. There's things that you see now. I mean, I can see the top of Hallis Hall from my house. Is that an eyesore? I don't think so. But maybe at the time.
I don't know if the cell company did, but, when they first saw that could be an issue with residents, why didn't they come back with, here's an alternative that works? I mean, the Plan Commission and all that shouldn't be the ones deciding where it goes because they're not the experts on it. Why didn't the cell company go, well, you don't want it here, we can put it here? I
think their answer to that was, this is the only place we want it.
That's my point. That they're the experts saying this is probably the best, and we can disguise it as, to make it more.
Let's dumb this down a little bit to help me out, okay? A cell phone is just a radio, right? Radio operates on frequencies, okay? Whether it's digital, ones and zeros, or analog, Joe's flip phone. But when you have, what I used to work at Nextel push to talk, all the contractors had it, loved it, okay? I had to sell units, and a couple things. In the winter, when all the leaves came down, you would have better cell service, okay? Because the signals can pass through. Second thing, when you would have a problem, you blame it on solar flares. Number 3, okay.
This isn't dumbing it down. This is like a science project.
Well, if you have a radio tower and you're putting it in an area where the signal is strong anyways, it's not going to make a difference, and you have somebody that's going to invest in it. Are the Ward 4 residents willing to pitch money to put the tower wherever they want? Okay.
Well, but they want cell service.
Quit mooching.
But we always
from my
had cell
tower.
service. We never had this problem until I'm going to say a year or so ago. There was never this issue. How did it just happen all of a sudden?
I think people are working at home more post-pandemic. I work at home 4 out of 5 days a week usually, and I'm on Zoom meetings, phone calls and stuff a lot of the time. And there's a lot of people like that I know work at whether it's business or government, they work at home more often, so there's more cellular use in the area. Plus, I mean, there's more and more cell devices now. Right. I mean, if you have an alarm system in your house, you have a separate cell system for it now because there's nobody's using landlines anymore.
It's cyclical too. I mean, everyone's saying, oh, radiation, all this crap. I'll give you, I live on Oakwood, and for when we bought our house back in 95, the big rage was these electric boxes, these big stations. Oh, big cancer causers. You don't want to buy. So my house sat here along with a lot of other houses forever to sell. And studies show there was no, emitting of radiation from these electrical boxes, these huge things. And it's the same with the cell towers. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a wave of, fear that is. And, they don't emit that much.
It's a health issue. I don't think anybody's really, I mean, some people may say that, but I agree.
They're playing the health cards. They don't have anything else.
But I read about this because I went online when I was hearing about the back and forth. And it's what I remember reading is that these new cell towers, you can transmit like 40 miles, 30, 40 miles. So that's why I don't understand why the recycling center, I mean, it's not that far from the West Lake Forest train station. It really isn't. And so if you're talking even 30 miles or 20 miles, they should be able to, put it there.
There's also the relationship to the other towers. And apparently there's towers further west that are close to that to where it's not worth their investment to do that. I really think if these, as Skoo said, if the cell company could have put it there, they would have, because there would have been little to no opposition.
Well, it's not a cell phone company. It's a tower company.
It's a tower company that then leases the space on the tower to T-Mobile, AT&T, right, Verizon, those companies.
Joe, isn't that one of the issues with the water tower right now? That some of the vendors, I guess, on there won't play nice with adding on to it or something?
I think I didn't hear that. I heard that the water tower is at capacity, that the Public Works Department is worried that if you put anything else on it, that the water tower is going to collapse.
Put less water in it.
Why can't they put a tower right next to it?
But Susan asked the good question, why don't they just put a tower next to it? And I think the cell companies came back and said it's not worth, or this company that then rents to the cell companies came back and said there isn't the interest that there would be if we put it at the metro station. So therefore it's not financially viable for us to build this. So we're not interested. At least that was what we got that night at the meeting from them.
Right. But if they ever come back again, the question should be, what is the range for these cell towers? Because if it is 40 miles or 30 miles, I guess I'd want to understand why it has to be only in that location. If you have some flexibility, right, we should just know that. I mean,
and I think the other part of that is the Metro line. It is probably of more value to the cell companies to have as much coverage by Metro lines, because having ridden Metro, I can see the problem where my signal drops on Metro a lot.
Well, there's this issue probably about 10 or so years ago with the cell tower being put out by the college there. I think it's right on the curve of Western and Wesley now. But there's issues with that too when that came out, but it got done. So I don't know why the cell tower company's like, okay, we're out then. You don't want to do it here, we're out.
Well, the tower company could have done themselves a better service, if they sent somebody that looked like he just got out of grad school
And the first thing he said was he lived in Batavia.
Well, and the thing is, the education on it, everyone was screaming bloody murder that it's the cities, and it's not. It was the cell tower company coming to them saying, you guys need a tower, and here's where we can put it.
Right.
Then it's up to the city to say, okay, this probably won't work. Give us some viable options.
And the planning commission didn't do anybody any favors by they were told, hey, we need an answer on this, and then they kind of Skoo, how would you categorize what they did?
Well, I think the can was kicked down the road to them, where it could have been just a city decision saying this is benefiting the entire city. It doesn't have to go to the boards and commission. That's why I think the plan commission kind of just like fumbled and tripped and all over the place on it. I don't think they
wasn't the process though that it had to go to plan commission before it went to council?
That's probably the process. Yeah.
Recommendation.
The question is, did it need to? Not everything goes to the boards and commissions. City makes decisions on a whole lot more stuff that they feel is right for the community that doesn't need to. And this could have been one. I don't know, but
So what's the next step? What's going to happen next?
My understanding is they're out.
We're never going to have cell service again.
That's all Elon Musk gets all those satellite things.
All those mooches and
No, they're going to look for another.
That's the thing is that the cell tower company came to the city, so they, realized Lake Forest doesn't want to do it, so they kind of we're out. So I don't know what
I thought the plan commission's job is to do some more research or find a different location and bring these guys back.
That wasn't what their
No?
I don't say mandate's the right word. They were given something to rule on, and they, instead of ruling on it, they came up, hey, well, what about this?
Well, and I think, we've all had our experience with dealing with Cathy Czerniak, and she knows her stuff. And I think she came to the meeting prepared with all the answers for that because she did do her research on that before the meeting. And she said, look, this is where they want it. There's no other place in the city that they're interested in doing it. And here's the reasons. And now you need to make the decision.
Right. And that's why I say it was kind of kicked down to Cathy, unfortunately, because yes, the planning committee, they decide, and if there's another solution, they'll research and figure it out and come back with a recommendation. But there wasn't one. I mean, it was the cell tower company saying, we want it here. And
well, we'll pay for it here. You can put it wherever you want.
Right. But
you pay for it.
You guys.
Yeah. So that's what
I think it was a little, I feel bad for the plan. I feel bad for Cathy because it was something that probably should never have got there, but then it got twisted, and I don't know. I think it was.
Are you saying it should have gone straight to the city council?
Sure, omnibus.
There'd be such an uproar, though, if.
Well, that's why I got, I think, kicked down to.
Yeah.
But when you kick something down like that, you got to have the commissions and boards be able to act on it, and they weren't able to.
Well, I think he was well informed. So here's the thing. So there were groups over by the West Lake Forest train station that were coming together and talking about it and organizing. I think they were the ones that went to the plan commission meeting. Right. It would be nice if when that happens, the plan commissioners, at least two of them, could go to those meetings so they'd be well aware of what's going on, or somebody from the city could be there. Maybe some aldermen were there. I'm not sure. But it's almost like, wait, what's happening? The plan commission, they kind of were pushed into a corner. But it'd be nice if it was like more open and more transparent at the city level so the plan commissioners could feel comfortable being there, hearing what the people's concerns are before it backfires on them at a plan commission meeting.
Right.
But you got to be careful with the Open Meetings Act.
I said two. Yeah.
Well, there were two plan commissioners that had a very different opinion than the rest of the plan commission that night. Barrett Davey and Pasquazi. I can't remember his first name offhand, but they were like, "Hey, this is the only way we can do this, and let's go forward with it." But they were the only two, and the rest of the commission, Dixon was not there at the meeting, as I recall, but the rest of them were like, "Nope, it's not. We don't think this is right." And that, that's.
I mean, that's the whole thing.
Their judgment.
The commission had no real say because there's only one choice. But if they agreed to it, then it kind of
Yeah, and
facilitate
I
the
think if
process.
they
but-
had gone straight to council like you're suggesting, there would have the flip side of that would have been is why did you skip the plan commission process?
Yeah.
Why are you skipping? You know,
I don't think so. I think it would have been more of a discussion of it doesn't need to go there. This is something that we can,
But people would be so upset.
I know that's why I think it was kicked down to
I
kind
used
of
to live over there, and for years we felt that we were not really a part of Lake Forest, and so.
Well, you still aren't.
Well, you're not.
Well, I don't live there anymore.
I know.
So
fake
I
forest.
got on the other side. Now I just have traffic.
Joe's not.
I think people are going to say no matter what. If it's in their backyard, it's just no, and that's just how it is. But they'll mooch off my tower. So I tell you what, you can keep it the way it is, Ward 4. You just pay more for cell service. I'm going to pay less for cell service. How's that? Okay, let me at them. All right, Susan, we have the special time that you're on the show. What else has been on your mind since last time you've been on?
Well, I think what's really on my mind is we're talking about it now, looking at the big picture, all these little projects and controversies. It seems like they get so far and then everybody pulls back, or we don't know everything about the water main. I just feel like there's incomplete discussion, and the traffic issue, bringing in the high school and people together could solve a lot. I want to see stuff like that happen. I feel like everybody's in a silo, and that's why things don't change.
Susan, politics only matters when it affects you, because all these things that people want more information, yet look at Enjoy Lake Forest or whatever the city's YouTube site is. Look at the views on it. There's 20,000 people that live here and there's 40 views. Okay. If you really want to know what's going on, click. Nobody's even doing that. They're only going to get involved. Oh, wait, I could see it. All right.
But the city has the power to bring everybody together to.
How? What power? Mind power? Like Jedi?
They can put together some sort of a commission, a meeting to talk about the traffic, the busing, bring in the schools, all the stuff we've talked about. Somebody needs to take a leadership role. Otherwise, next time I come on.
Well, we're talking to a guy that took the leadership role initially, Mr. Pete.
Wait,
and
what?
this whole podcast was set up to communicate about the city and businesses and what's going on. And it unfortunately took a different, turn because people didn't like it or whatever. But this is the avenue, to communicate with people. And whether it's one or, continue.
So I didn't get who came on and talked about that. Who was it?
Well, hold on. Which issue? Because we've taken clips from the city council meetings. We've taken clips from the planning commission meetings, community feedback. We've put it on this Lake Forest podcast, which has got, depending on the issue, some significant views on it. So it comes down to, look, when you say the city's got to do something, it's like, here's that email that I don't read or I delete. Okay. Lake Forest Love, the updates and all that stuff. People don't read that stuff till they talk to a neighbor and say, hey, you hear that there's going to be a American flag cell phone tower in the business district? I say we vote no against it. People have to put a little time in themselves, Susan, and that's the issue that I have. And
okay, I agree with you, but I'm interested in this. I want to make sure that the quality of life in Lake Forest can be as good as it can be. And I would volunteer to be on one of those committees. I've been on those busing committees at the high school and God knows everywhere else years ago. And if there isn't anything for you to volunteer to be part of to solve the problem, you can't do anything. There has to be a framework set up somewhere.
Well, which problem you want to hit first? We talked about two.
Well, they kind of all are intertwined. The traffic, the parking, the streetscape, whatever that is with the water main, all of that kind of feeds off the same thing. It's.
So Jason Wikipedia is listening right now.
Jason Wikipedia.
Hey, Jason.
Jason, I know you're not listening or watching, but I know you are. So you have Dana Olson, who's the social media person. I don't know if there's an external marketing person. Maybe does the same thing.
I think she's more than social media. She's the whole communications.
Oh, okay. So
that's her title, I believe.
Okay, so we're talking to Dana right now. Like, what else can they do? All right, we'll put a meeting together. Because I'm thinking about that first.
Well, they did. They had meetings. They had community. They had workshops on the Deerpath streetscape. I went to one at City Hall, and there was maybe 30 people who came and looked at they had all the plans out. They had the Lakota group there.
No, that's showing everybody what is going to happen. I'm talking about putting a commission together where they appoint people to like tackle these issues, work with the high school, work with, the parents, get a group of parents to be on this.
Isn't that what the boards and commissions do? I mean,
for these particular, mayors have done it forever. I've served on those. I know, like Forest Hospital, Northwestern Lake Forest Hospital, the size of the building, the environmental impact, blah, blah, blah. Kylie appointed a group of people, or Cathy did, to serve on that. And then people get some sort of confidence that it's being addressed and their interests would be represented at least.
Well, hold on. We got, who's helping the caucus out with the bylaws?
Who?
Melanie Rummel.
Is it Melanie helping out with that? Okay, so
Melanie is one of the people, and she's been a very big critic of the caucus lately. So, props to Joe Reedy for reaching out, and I think that's part of why you have an uncontested election. We went from the most contested election, arguably in Lake Forest history.
So Susan, the caucus got this little group together. You're saying the city needs to get a group together besides the workshops, besides the planning commission? Like,
there's a difference between workshops here's what we're doing. They've got the easels, and that's like
an oversight.
You need instead of coming from the top down, you need it to come from the bottom up. And then people will feel like they've participated. You'll get a better solution that way, I think.
So you're saying it worked with the hospital? You were a part of that? Because you know something about politics, I hear. Is that how that all went down?
What do you mean?
Did they have a group together to talk about the changes to the hospital? Like, what?
Yes.
Skoo and Susan, you've been in Lake Forest way longer than me or Joe.
I was born in Lake Forest Hospital.
What has happened in the past that has been done the right way that we could copy that's been doing wrong? It's being done the wrong way now.
So I'm not saying it's nothing's being done. So people are talking about the traffic. People are talking about parking. People are talking about Bank Lane being one way. And there's no place where you can say, okay, there's a group of parents, city leaders, school people looking at this, and they're doing everything they can to fix it.
Right.
And that is something that I think Bob Kiley used to appoint these kinds of groups, or Cathy Czerniak.
Well, I think you're right on, Susan. It's the water piping thing that's going to happen. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they did workshops and all that, but did they have a committee of business owners and residents kind of not overseeing, but kind of listening to their neighbors on it, as opposed to going to a workshop, because you get more real response, like we're doing right here.
Input. You want input.
So isn't that what that I forgot her name, the commerce person that I'm not hearing great things.
Joanna Rolek?
Yeah.
The Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah. Shouldn't she play it?
Well, I mean, again, is the Chamber of Commerce? I don't think they're
Chambers of Commerce, with all due respect to them, tend to be more of a social organization than a political organization.
Now you can pull
Wait,
people
hold on. This is a communication organization. I would think that Joanna Rolek would know all these business people and have a degree of influence to say, hey, this is the problem with the piping going in.
But that's not their purview, so to speak.
She could be on this committee representing the business.
You can get chamber people.
Well, like Sweets.
That's what I'm saying.
I would think Sweets is going to be very affected, not only by the construction, but if you look at the drawings of it, the concern that I've thought of is they're essentially taking a parking space away from in front of Sweets. because they're going to put this very beautiful
that parking space,
there on the corner.
that totally blocks people, those dang scooters and everything. So I can't believe nobody's been wiped out in front of Sweets. That'll help out business.
Well, not even talking about Sweets, but yeah, they're going to be impacted. All the business can be impacted. The one thing I see that's going to be just horrific is the gas station, Shell. How in the heck are people going to get in and out, and talk about a bottleneck?
Yeah.
To get gas there?
Wait, the BP?
Well, you'll go to the Costco.
No. The Shell station.
I know, but I'm saying people will go buy their gas at the Costco in the tower that should have been
shop locally. Joe,
I understand.
Locally, please.
But there's another gas station further south next to the CVS, so they'll probably just end up going there with the car wash, right?
Yeah, it's going to be like 1974.
But the UPS store where everybody is standing in line returning their Amazon packages. I mean, it's going to be horrific.
That is the worst place for that.
That's going to be crazy.
Jason is watching.
You know, it's going to be even worse is Starbucks. People,
but there's always
spots are going to be slugging it out now.
In the handicap
there's always been construction. There's always construction somewhere. The Kennedy Expressway has been under construction for at least 10 years now.
And I don't go downtown because of it. It just takes too long.
Once the theory behind construction is once it's done, you have a nice, beautiful new road or whatever they've built. The question I have is, and I don't know the answer to it, so that's why it's a question, is once it is done, once we get past the headaches of the construction, is the finished product going to help increase business downtown, or is it going to hurt business downtown? I don't know the answer.
Any business, Joe, if you run a business, if you can't get to the business for X amount of time, and now you're not going to get those people coming back, whether the end goal is it's going to be beautiful. If I can't access it now, what's going to my habit of not going there is going to, I'll go somewhere else.
Well, the city needs to find a way to encourage people to come or do something. They just have to have that discussion. What's the name of the new deli that?
Once Upon a Bagel?
Yeah, Once Upon a Bagel.
They're screwed. They have a line of people outside the door as it is, let alone
they do.
Now you don't have access to it unless you park, over at the high school.
Well, maybe the city could have shuttles or something. There's got to be ways.
Nobody wants to ride the bus, Susan.
A shuttle.
Unless you go to one of those fancy home stores.
Pete's good. He just pulls everything back together. We're now back with the bus.
Pete will offer free rides in his Tesla pickup truck.
No, but it's crazy. The parents don't want the kids to take the bus, but those parents will be, I don't care if it's one of them orange buses, they will cram on those things to go on those house walks.
So something needs to happen. They need to get a sensor on the lights, if nothing else.
Okay.
At Deerpath in Green Bay?
And
I talked to Jason about it. He said it's expensive. I'll help raise money.
Yeah, what's expensive? It's all relative, right?
If you go down 60.
Take some of the money from the police department. No.
Yeah.
This is like Forest, not Berwyn.
In a perfect world, I would widen Deerpath at least west of Green Bay, but I don't think that'll ever happen. But I would make it two lanes in each direction.
Joe, that's the problem. It's so we're so compact that no one planned for 100 years ago the pipes. How are we going to do that 100 years from now and swap them out or whatever the thing was?
So the other thing about Deerpath and Green Bay, you can't turn right on a red or left, depending on which way you're coming from. But if they put I think they have the space to put in turn lanes on the north and south side of Green Bay, going east on Deerpath and west on Deerpath, coming from the north and the south.
You might have to purchase some private property there.
But those are the things that
the parkways are all owned by the city. They just take eminent domain.
They can do it. And the state could work with them on it.
No, eminent domain is not free. They still have to pay fair market value, which can be kind of high, but yeah.
It's a public, I think it's owned by the city.
If it's owned by the city now, then it's then
Yeah.
I think they're probably
live in the city here. Joe, live in town here with a parkway. When you want to do something to it,
Okay.
But when the city wants to do it,
Can we sum this up? Because like Cathy's like this, or what does Cathy do? Get a committee together to talk about a committee, or a pre-committee committee?
Somebody appoints a committee and they have, a directive.
I don't think it's Cathy. I think it's the city council or
Yeah.
Jason.
It's
okay.
probably the city council, yeah.
Good.
The mayor and Jason,
Well,
and council decide.
It always used to be Bob Kiley. He
Right.
did this kind of stuff a lot. Howard Kerr did it a lot when he
Well,
was.
they just did a committee, for example, for the police station, and they've got what I think is a pretty blue ribbon group of people, starting with Jed Morris, former alderman, on there. So, yeah, you could get a committee together for Deerpath, and I would certainly want to include some business owners in that area.
I nominate Susan Garrett. Do I have a second?
The schools and the buses. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
Well, hold on.
That's it. You got to bring Matt Montgomery back on to talk about that one, because he'll say no.
Well, I don't think that they care. I mean, they're providing transportation.
I think we touched on it once with him when he was on the show, and he's like, well, kids just don't want to ride the bus anymore.
Get kids to school. I'm sitting in line like 8 o'clock and 3 o'clock on Deerpath, and
Do it, Pete. Go a different way.
There's this damn traffic jam, and I start, sticking my snout into things. And I'm like, when I was a kid, I took the school bus, and I asked parents around, like, why don't your kids take the school bus? Number one issue was, you have to pay for it now. If we got a referendum, I know it's for 115, but still, why won't we cover school bus fees for parents? Because that would the kids that need to take a school bus and not get dropped off in their Mercedes, they might need the help, and we can get less traffic on Deerpath. What happened?
So remember that these are completely separate budgets. So when you,
but it's one road.
And I understand that, and we can widen the road. Maybe that's not going to happen either. But don't. I want to be careful, because I think this is easy for people to do. Well, you got $105.7 million. Now you shouldn't pay for busing. And the community voted for the referendum, but they are separate budgets. So I can't take money from the 115 budget and move it over to 67. Both buses, like both districts, are charging for buses. We have been slowly reducing the cost. Yeah. I think the bigger issue, Pete, is people don't want their kids on buses. Well, that is a trend in high achieving districts, which means districts that often have more resources. More parents are able to drive their kids to school. If we offered free busing, would we see a decline in traffic? Maybe, but to what degree is my question.
Well, and the number two thing,
the boards have been trying to minimize that cost, but acknowledging that the amount that we're charging is not covering buses.
And people are going to say, hey, you got that money sitting in the bank account and you're going to have a surplus from the interest. What are you going to do with that? I don't want to get into that because they'll get us another half an hour. But I mean, these are things that I'm pointing at John, not at Matt. Matt's going to get a paycheck somewhere. I don't know where it is, but he's going to get another paycheck. I'm dealing with John right now. So the school bus, like, when did that get cut out, John? Do you know?
I don't ever even being here. We always paid. It's always been another fee. Yeah. And so the other thing that's with that we communicate to parents, because even in this community, we have parents that can't afford it. Yeah. And so we do have abilities through sports fees and other types of things. We've tried to keep them down and low. But at the same time, we do, and we will fund parents and families that are in need. And we make that available to them so they can understand and subsidize that where that's needed. The bigger philosophy thing, I think in the high school too, is the kids want to drive, or they're going to park at the city and walk over. And you're still running a number of buses. And I mean, I've had to pick up my daughter, and just the schedules and what they're doing. So, the DPM one is just, I think
we
the simple
partner-
answer is you just go a different way. And I've gone the wrong way numerous times and I'm
Put
stuck.
Wi-Fi on the bus. They'll take care of it. Done.
So
Yeah, I think it's the philosophy as parents and families. Yeah. I honestly, it's just, but we've always paid, I think even from me as a kid from in the 70s and 80s. Yeah.
Okay.
So a couple of things they had. The board philosophy, I think, was 50-50-50 of the parents pay 50% and the board pays 50%. We worked with the city, I think the first year and the second year I was here to try to figure out how to make that traffic better. They were wonderful partners. We've been trying to continue to figure out a way, without widening the road, how can we make it better for our community? And it continues to be a problem.
Hey, Susan, there's this thing called Google. If you punch in Lake Forest and Matt Montgomery and buses, I bet you'll see my big head pop up.
You're bringing it back to us again.
I'm bringing it back. Okay.
Maybe
So-
your guys, Pete, your buddies need to focus on the buses with the school.
Which buddies?
I also
Another
want to
buddy.
say what we're talking about isn't just me. You know, your friends, people that you talk to a lot. This is what people are talking about in Lake Forest right now.
That's
But
why.
how did we go? I started to ask the question earlier, but how did we go from 2023, the most contested election arguably in Lake Forest history with Randy Tack versus Drew Beidler, to 2025, everything is uncontested. Mayor, city council, school board, everything uncontested this time.
And the point is,
Yeah.
Point is, if everybody's upset, why is there no one running?
after the Randy
Byler.
Taylor Skoo Byler election, who would run? And that was a scary thing. I was part of it, so I can say that.
Joe, don't get so wrapped up in what happened last year. I mean, there's been contested elections throughout Lake Forest, much more than this last one.
I know there was, but I don't think anyone
there-
ever spent $200,000.
And the reason why there's not contested elections is because the system works, whether people want to believe it or not. And, you know, everyone has a right to run on their own. It's
Sure,
not-
but we went from 2 years ago, the caucus meeting where Randy gets voted down as the nominee at the caucus meeting, to where Randy gets voted yes by a landslide. I can't even remember what the percentage was, but it wasn't even close.
The communications during the election were, I mean, I would say severe, but they accomplished what people, you know, paying for that messaging wanted to get accomplished. So
Do you think there will be a hotly contested, that when it's an open seat in 2 years, because the mayor is term limited, do you think that there will be a free-for-all again in 2027?
I don't think people,
No.
yeah, I agree. I don't think people are interested in running against the mayor, running for that job. They like the system that the caucus provides. It was just, I think we should be able to agree on this. It was compromised, the process, when people voted against Randy Tack. And then the caucus said, sorry, this is the way it's going to be. And so that's why the caucus is revising its bylaws. I mean, it's
Well,
not,
like I said earlier, props
not
to Joe
Randy
Reedy.
Tack's fault. It really
No.
isn't.
I think Joe Reedy's done a very good job.
One
reaching out.
thing straight about what happened there. That annual meeting is not a final voting meeting for the mayor. That is approving what the caucus job was. And it got skewed into thinking this is your vote for who's going to be mayor, which is not. But that was the whole gist and problem of it. And it's not a forum to elect the mayor. That's what the normal election is. But people on the caucus and outside the caucus decided this is how it is supposed to be. And it's not. That's not what that annual meeting
It's
is.
the caucus putting their recommendations forward, and then the membership of the caucus having the opportunity to vote yes.
But the key is the caucus membership, all of us, is not, they're agreeing to the caucus completing their task of moving forward their person.
Well-
Not going against the caucus, say we don't like
Yeah.
that. You could say no, but it's the caucus's role was to, here's what our job is. We have to get board members, commission members, mayor, alderman. Here's what it is. And that annual meeting then is to invite the caucus, the community, in to meet the people that they've put forward, and then not to agree or disagree on who, but to agree or disagree they completed their task.
No, Skoo, no.
Okay.
It's a vote. It's a real vote, and that's why the bylaws are being.
It's a real vote to complete the
Because-
task. I was on the caucus. That was the role forever, is to, you're agreeing, you're voting that the caucus completed their task. You can vote no on it, but
So-
it's not electing the,
Well, then
Mayor.
that would be the question on the ballot. Did the caucus complete its task? Instead, people were given ballots where they voted yes
Right.
or no to school board members, mayor, alderman, and everybody else got all the votes from the membership
Right.
in order to succeed.
that's where the mess
Except
up.
for Randy Tack, and that was an issue, we could talk about forever, but.
Well,
people didn't think he
what we
deserved
can do is we can go to Google and look up bylaws, Lake Forest podcast, and you will see an episode with Skoo and I talking about how the bylaws were down for months at a time when they opened up the hood to work on them, and you had a bylaws expert leave us in the mess that we're in. So hopefully we're getting down to the bottom of it.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be very clear what is acceptable and what isn't, and how much authority it didn't work.
Melanie will fix it.
Wasn't right.
Melanie will fix it. Melanie, we got to have you and Mike on the show. We got to do that. And Susan, can we have,
So let me ask you: are you in favor of revising the bylaws?
Me, personally? No. I think they revised them a few years ago to get us into this mess, but they should be, again, when I was on it, and Joe, just so you know, I can get 40 people that were on previous caucuses, and 99.9% of them are going to say this is how the process was. It doesn't happen that way now. So there was changes that created where we are. So revising them, no, they worked in the past. There was no reason to revise them. It's individual people wanted to revise them, and they did. So now it's going to get even further convoluted.
I do think they need to make some kind of provision
Just my opinion.
for what happens if there is a no vote on a candidate. I think that needs to be codified in the bylaw.
You're missing the whole point of it. Again, I'm going to reiterate the mayoral that meeting was not yes or no on the candidates. It was yes or no on the caucus completed the task of putting these. Susan,
But it was yes on the.
That's how it was in the past.
So it was yes on the aldermanic candidates, but no on the mayoral candidate.
No, it was Joe.
The problem is the way Skoo
No.
at it, the way Susan looks at it.
The caucus did their job.
It's different. It's ambiguous. That's the problem. It's ambiguous. So
it wasn't ambiguous.
For you, it wasn't. But
no, it was not ambiguous in the past. It was created to be ambiguous now, 10 years ago or wherever it was, where they started manipulating the bylaws.
That's what I'm saying. When they lifted up the hood and they did it. Yes, that's the problem.
When you were on the caucus, Skoo, it was clear. And after that, changes were made to the bylaws that made it not as clear.
And it was, yes, exactly. And it wasn't just after I left, but it was after I left, but people before that. There was a set in time 10 years or so ago that the bylaws started being manipulated. But like I said, again, in the past, it was that annual meeting was here, introduce the candidates first off. It was introducing them, and here's who we put forward, come meet and greet. And then it was, now we're voting on the completion of the caucus work, not who your who your candidate was in the election, but it was, we completed our task. The general caucus agreed to it, move on.
Okay.
And oh, by the way, the other thing was, it was also strategic with the caucus it was meet and greet after the caucus meeting. So
Right.
so
they're
it's like
doing that.
so you
They're
sat through the
changing-
meeting and you're like, oh my God, maybe I'm going to leave so I don't have to vote. So that, I mean, yes, that's how it was strategically placed, is meet the candidates afterwards.
But when you were in the caucus, it was one way, then it changed. And when it changed, I think to Joe's point, it became maybe a little vague or unclear.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's what they're trying to button up.
And my interpretation.
We all agree on that.
Yeah.
It was a show of hands with Skoo in his day. And when I was a part of it, it was more of an agenda-driven thing, and
Right.
and the bylaws they disappeared. They were gone for months at a time, and the president wouldn't do anything about it. Remember, Skoo? We were right.
Yeah.
And,
Well, and again, in my day also, you didn't have, I mean, granted, there was probably 4 or 5 people showing up at the annual meeting because there wasn't questioning on everything because it was running fine.
Right.
There's no, but
And
when
I
you
don't
start
think-
tinkering and ruin stuff,
Do you think maybe because using what you've just talked about, Sue, do you think maybe the term limit issue should be revisited, or maybe instead of having it spread out a few more years than what they do now, because you're losing institutional knowledge at a fast pace under the current system?
No, I think, I mean, again, I disagree with a whole bunch of stuff they're doing right now, but I wholly support the caucus because I know that process has worked for 90 some years in the past, and it's getting a little bumps right now, but it's just, I think the system and process works. It's evident it works. We have a great city and all that. Now, is it going to, by tweaking all this stuff that probably doesn't need to? We'll have to see. I don't know, but I don't think you get rid of how people sit on the boards and commissions because it works. It's getting the right people. And that's dug down into the caucus group and getting the right people, using the VPSs, calling people out as opposed to call us. I mean, that's a big
But
thing.
I don't think people are complaining about the boards and commissions
But it's a byproduct of all that.
Yeah, but I think there should be an opportunity for the membership of the caucus to have a way to weigh in. And that, from what I understood, was what this vote, whatever it was.
Yeah, and again, I just get back because I guess I'm a purist, but the way the community chimes into what the caucus is doing is, again, we elect 9 people in each ward to be our representatives on the caucus. And they should be, again, if I have an issue in the 3rd ward that I feel is a big issue, I should be able to go to my caucus member and say, can you, this is an issue, or go to my alderman and all that. But I don't think that's being done anymore.
But you get that postcard in the mail with the names of the people running for caucus. And if you're new to town, like we were when we first got that postcard, we're like, I don't know who any of these people are. And none of them are knocking on my door or calling me to say, hey, I'm so-and-so running for caucus. So we end up, in my case, I actually start asking questions. I go to people I know in the neighborhood who are active and ask, hey, what do you think of this person versus that person? But I think other people either throw the card away or pick based on the nicest sounding name, like they do when they vote for judges on the ballot. So, maybe I don't know how you would,
but see,
maybe
Joe,
have
that process works. Whether you throw the card away or not, every resident is getting that, and they have that option of filling it out or not. And it works. I mean, yeah, who knows who half the people are, but you know what? When I look at that card, I go, okay, these people raise their hands. They want to contribute. If I don't know them, I'm still going to pick 3.
The alternate is whoever has the most money wins, and that's not good. Susan Garrett, can we get you to come back on the show? You got to go to California.
I feel like I'm part of the team.
Okay, all right. Are you part of the team?
I think we accomplished a lot today.
Look, we got a foursome. We can go golf too.
I
got a golf course right out here. We're all going to fly down.
I know you are.
Play today.
Man,
I see you out there quite a bit.
I so want to talk about Trump, but dang it, we're out of time.
He lost Lake Forest, Pete.
Yeah, look at the trends in Chicago. That's all that people are talking about.
He did better than he did 4 years ago and 8 years ago, but
that's why it's
he
called
lost
the
Lake Forest, but Mary Cole won Lake Forest.
Does anybody know if Trump or Harris, who won Lake Forest?
Harris won Lake Forest.
Really?
Trump only won one precinct in Lake Forest. It's the Middle Fork precinct where I live. He won it by 99 votes, and every Republican on the ballot, including the guy running against Bob Morgan, won that precinct. So that is the bastion of Republicanism.
And Joe, I heard Trump sent you a thank you card for leading that.
Sure, as a Nikki Haley delegate, but
you got to let her go.
Mary Cole won Lake Forest, so I think that brand of Republican does do well in Lake Forest.
Right, a lot of people like her.
Hey Joe, can you come down by City Hall? One of your buddy has a sign still hooked in the bushes. Can you come and take it out?
Yeah,
Severino, who got less than 300 write-in votes, and he claims he got 5% of the vote. Okay, sure.
I'll drop it off on your. I'll drop it off on your lawn because it's littering my community.
Take it to the dump. Don't be picking on my Cicero guys.
Hey, listen, the dump's only open on Saturday,
8 to 3.
All right, speaking of
8 to 3.
No more Sundays?
Nope.
In March. Till March.
All right. I hope Jason was listening, and I hope maybe something will come of this. What do you think?
Well, you can wish in one hand, and you can...
Stop!
You can wish in one hand, and...
Wish
you can cramp in the other. See which one fills up first. Susan Garrett.
He's just upset.
Joe Weiss. Skoo Weiss.
Merry Christmas.
Skoo Weiss.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas. Go Hoosiers.
Thanks for inviting me.
Hoosiers.
Hey, today Christmas, so maybe we got to get together beforehand. Sit around a fire.
We get duffers, right?
Oh, interesting.
I'll join you remotely.
Tuesday open.
I'll walk. I won't park because I don't want you taking a picture of my car.
Yeah, I already got it. You know what? Should I delete that? It got a lot of views.
Your car's very distinguishable.
You can Photoshop it any way you want. Pete.
Well, I can't. You got to park within the line, Susan. Or you need. You can't. Don't be that person who takes up 2 spots. That's uncool.
I didn't. I was like, that's my job.
Oh yeah. Look up Susan Garrett, Lake Forest Podcast Park Job.
Across the double yellows.
Oh, I'm losing cells. Michelle Parno has lived and worked in Lake Forest for over 2 decades. Michelle's lending experience, when combined with her real estate expertise, makes her an invaluable asset to her clients as they navigate their home buying or selling process. Call Michelle now at 847-528-8721, 847-528-8721. For the best cannabis in the world, look no further than Iliad Epic Grow. Owned by Lake Bluff's own Rich Ruzich, they are a cannabis cultivation center focusing on hard-to-find small batch products that will delight both the occasional user and ganjier. When visiting Michigan, ask for it by name. Epic Products, exceptional process. For more information, email info@iliadgrow.com. Laracy & Company CPAs, founded in 2010 by Lake Forest's own Brian Laracy, specializes in tax preparation and bookkeeping services. Earning the People Love Us on Yelp award, their process is straightforward. Just upload, review, and file. For a free quote, visit LaracyCPA.com now. That's LARISEYCPA.com. I'm excited to share with you something special from our Lake Forest community, the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa, located at 775 North Bank Lane in Lake Forest near Wisconsin Avenue. This just isn't any spa. They offer an amazing blend of traditional spa services plus the added benefit of medical procedures and treatments. In a relaxing and luxurious spa environment, you can enjoy a range of cosmetic and aesthetic treatments. These are all performed under the supervision of top medical professionals. The Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa provides skin care, facial facial rejuvenation, body contouring, laser hair removal, Botox, dermal fillers, chemical peels, and much more. What's great is that each treatment is tailored not just to enhance your appearance, but also to address specific skin concerns and to promote overall well-being. So if you're looking to pamper yourself and take your beauty routine to the next level, give the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa a call at 224-768-8028 or visit them at their location on North Bank Lane. It's an experience your skin will thank you for. We'd also like to say we're thankful for our Patreon supporters, Otto, John C., Helen, Herrick, and J.M.